Yeah, I can have everybody's attention here in the media center. We are now joined by Carl Edwards, driver of the number 19 Stanley Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Carl, the defending winner of the Toyota Save Mart 350. Left turns, right turns, we're at a road course. What is it about a road course that just really gets you going on a weekend?
Well, this is pure driving. I mean, we get to drive these race cars for 90% of the lap. You're doing something. You're sliding the car around. You're shifting. You're choosing your line. The braking is tough. You're trying to manage the grip on the racetrack. It's just this is as good as it gets. I mean, we should, if we could make all of the races such that you had to drive the cars like this, it'd be a blast. It's a really good time. It's the most fun race of the year for me.
It looks fun to us.
Yep.
So we'll open up the floor to questions here. If you have a question, we'll get a wireless microphone to you. We'll start over there and work our way around.
Hey, Carl, Don Langford, RaceSonoma.com. This place is jinxed to some extent. You win here, and then to try to do 2 wins hasn't been a double winner in a decade. Does that bother you?
No, not at all. I feel like we can win this weekend. I've felt like we could win a bunch of these races, and it just hasn't worked out. But I think the reason you've seen these, 10 different winners in the last 10 years, or 11 in the last 11, I'm not sure how many it was, but is because it's just it's a tough race to get everything right. It's not always the fastest car wins. It's the guy with the right strategy with a little bit of luck. The cautions have to fall his way. Plus, you have to be fast. So it's a tough race, but there's nothing saying we couldn't win this one and win it the next few years. Those stats kind of, they don't mean anything once a green flag drops.
Bob?
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Kind of along those lines, the last 8 winners, it was their first Cup road course win here. So all the last 8 never won at the Glen. Is there something about this track or this race here that kind of either equalizes the field or kind of?
That's a good question, man. I don't know. That's a really good question. There must be a reason, but I'll tell you the thing that really stands out here is just the grip level. There's so little grip relative to many of the places we race. There's so many opportunities to make mistakes that it probably makes it there are probably more errors in this event than any of the other events, and so maybe there's just more opportunity for guys to slip up or get a pass or I don't know. It's crazy out there though. I mean, that last restart. I've started up front. I've started 10th and 12th and 15th. I mean, it's a full melee. It's crazy. So a lot can happen. Maybe that's why you get the different winners. Just wild things happen here.
Woody came with MRN. Carl, speaking of errors and opportunities, next week you go back to Daytona, another super speedway race, and I know a lot of guys see these races and super speedway races as an opportunity that they might not otherwise have to make the chase. Do you notice the more aggression, the different risk taking on those types of races, or does it not seem so much like that? And what do you expect this time?
They might look the same, from the outside. It might look, the restart here might look, similar to the Sonoma restart, but it's a much different race, and it's I'd say the chance for a problem or a wreck or something is just as high in either of them, but this one's just at a lower speed. It feels like people are willing to take bigger risks. You can slide the car sideways more. So yeah, they look similar, and I guess the risk level's similar, but they're so completely different. I mean, there couldn't be 2 races more different than here in Daytona from the driver's seat.
Go back to Bob.
With this being Gordon's last race here, if you guys are in the same position coming down to the checkered last couple of laps like you were a year ago, would you expect him either to race you any differently, or would you have any sense of like, wow, here's a guy last race, home track? What would he do?
I know for me personally, I race everybody the same on that last lap, and this is one of those places. If you're running a guy down and you're faster than him, you got to take every chance you can to get by him. But I don't know. I think that's one of the neat things about this racetrack is there are opportunities to pass, and there are opportunities to force a guy into a mistake. And really, no matter who it is or what you're racing for, this is it's a good one to win. So I think everybody will probably everybody will race really hard.
Carl, a couple guys have talked about the new rules package coming at Kentucky, and I know you've been a big proponent of the lower downforce package, but they've said that we might not notice the full impact of it since that track is so rough. What are you expecting, and would you like to see more this year of those?
Yeah, we're approaching the no downforce package, and that's the package I'm all for. But I applaud NASCAR for making this change, for trying something. I mean, NASCAR wants the same thing we all want. They want side-by-side, door-to-door, nose-to-tail racing, fighting for the wins. And you see that stuff at a place like this because the speeds are down and you can run a soft tire. And if we could do that at these mile and a halves and put it back in the driver's hands, I think that's huge. And Kentucky will be fun to try. We tested that package a little bit at Richmond, and it wasn't as big of a change there as I thought it would be. I think Kentucky it'll hopefully be different, not only for your car, but that smaller blade will put a smaller hole in the air, and so the guy in front of you hopefully will affect you less. And that's what it's all about. You know, we want to race cars on tires on pavement, not cars through the air.
We'll send it upstairs. Do we have any questions upstairs from the press box?
No questions.
No questions. Come back over here and continue on.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Carl, have we ever had that kind of racing that you're talking about on mile and a halves and the intermediate tracks, and how realistic is it to get to that point?
If you go on YouTube and watch some of those races from, the early 80s, even the early 90s, it appeared those cars could run very close to one another. And, and my belief is that's what made this sport. That's why I personally watch stock car racing over IndyCar racing or Formula One. It's because I wanted to see cars racing close to one another. I didn't want to see a technical battle. And I think that some people want to see the race. They want to see guys race spoilers and splitters and wings and downforce and side force, but they aren't stock car racing fans. I mean, that's just not stock car racing. We should have stock cars from the perspective of aero dependency, and I believe it's really realistic that we can do it. I believe in Goodyear. I believe in these drivers. I think that we can go run around at places like Michigan or Charlotte, sideways smoking the tires. I mean, Tim Richmond used to qualify up there at Michigan. I know people that would pay admission just to watch him run one lap, smoking the right rear tire around that place. And to me, that's stock car racing, and I really do appreciate NASCAR going that direction.
Claire Relang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. What about what you can get away with on a road course versus an oval? And, where that everybody's been saying patiently aggressive all day long. How do you look at patiently aggressive and what people can maybe say is okay in their own mind here versus somewhere else?
There are probably only one or two laps in the race, probably the whole weekend, one or two laps that I feel like, man, that was a perfect lap. And the rest of them are they're full of mistakes. And so you make mistakes the entire time here. I read a book one time, I think it was Juan Montoya or somebody they were quoting or talking about, and it's at this type of racing, it's not how many mistakes you make, it's when you recognize your mistake and how you deal with it, and you're just managing that the entire time. There's a lot going on in the race car, and so to me that's fun, and it really does. It gives an opportunity. I mean, just those last 6 or 8 laps with Jeff and I last year, it was just a battle of who made the least amount of mistakes. I'd screw up, he'd catch me, and then he'd screw up, and I'd gain a little advantage. And that's fun to race like that. When it's so hard that everyone's screwing up to some degree, that's what makes racing fun.
Carl, there was kind of a question towards this. As we get closer towards the chase, people that are not in are taking more chances. Are you aware of the drivers around you who are getting a little desperate to come towards the end of the race?
I should be, but I hadn't thought of that. But this weekend, it'll be would be an opportunity for a guy to muscle his way up there and maybe just deal with it afterwards if he thinks he can get that win. But you also have to be careful with that too, because it's tough to really take a bunch of risk hoping for a win, because if you screw up, you can put yourself in a bad points hole, and that's kind of a downward spiral to where you just try harder and harder. So I should look at the points. I'll do that before the race starts and kind of know what I'm dealing with.
Well, whatever you do, Carl, this weekend, don't screw up.
Yeah,
and hopefully we'll see you back in here on Sunday.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.